Okay, chapter 11, or excuse me, chapter 12 would be on race and ethnicity. We already talked about minority. What's the difference between the term race and ethnicity?
Race is biological traits society defines, and then ethnicity is cultural traits.
Yeah, race is more, in short, race is based more on biology. So the book definition is a socially constructed category of people who share biologically transmitted traits that members of a society consider important. Ethnicity is a shared cultural heritage. Okay, how about prejudice versus discrimination? What's the difference between those two things?
Prejudice is like the belief, and discrimination is like carrying out.
Yep, discrimination is an action, right? Anytime you see TION at the end, it's an action, right? So discrimination is the action in which people that are different, minorities, are treated unfairly. Prejudice is rigid and unfair generalizations about a category of people. What's something that's similar to prejudice, but it's not necessarily negative? It's like, white guys can't dance. I suppose that's kind of negative. What is that? Stereotype, yep. What is a category of people that's unfairly blamed for problems called? Somebody whispered that. What was that? Scapegoat's correct. Yep. What is the separation of people based on social status as segregation? What is it when you have a society that a whole bunch of different groups exist fairly equally and they're all valued and stuff like that? Pluralism is correct, yep. What is it where one minority group like adopts the values of a culture? Assimilation, yep. Okay, let's go on to the chapter on economics and politics now. Okay, we talked about kind of two broad categories for different types of economic and political systems. What are those two broad categories we discussed? One is where it's based on like individual choices and competition. Capitalism, and then what's the one that's based on like societal goals? Socialism, yep. In that we talked about different sectors of the economy. What are the three sectors of the economy? Primary, secondary, and tertiary. Which one involves getting like services, doing services for people? Tertiary. Which one involves like refining iron or like turning it into products? Secondary. Which one involves taking stuff out of the ground, making it use? Primary. Yep. What is it if you have a mostly capitalistic system, but you have a bunch of social programs? Welfare capitalism. State capitalism is where the government and the businesses work closely together. What is it called when one group dominates an economy? Monopoly. What if it's a couple of different? Oligopoly, yep. What are the three sources of authority that Weber talked about?
Traditional.
Charismatic and?
It's an R or something.
Rational legal, yep. So, while everybody that's in a position of authority really has more than one of those, there are some that are like more reliant on one type. So let's say you're in a feudal society, you're in feudal Japan, and the shogun has a lot of power. Where does he get his power from? Is it traditional, rational, legal, or charismatic?
Traditional.
Probably mostly traditional, yep. What about like a Supreme Court justice? Like not a lot of people know who they are, you don't see them on TV, but they have a lot of power. Or rational, legal, yep. And then how about like, you know, a politician that is very good at speaking and gets a bunch of people to follow them? Charismatic. Now once they get elected, they've got some rational, legal too. But what's the difference between a monarchy and a democracy?
One mostly traditional authority, and one is rational legal. That was.
Yeah, so monarchy, you've got one person in charge, usually based on heredity, right? Based on family line. In a democracy, the people have the power. So, have you heard the term monocle before? If you guys aren't used to doing this, mentally get used to it because it'll help you in college a lot. But a monocle is like one, right? Mono is one, okay? Demos means like many people, right? So monarchy, rule by one, okay? Yeah, so try to break words down into parts, that'll help you a lot for college. Okay, let's go to family and religion now. What's a measure for how important religion is to a person? Religiosity, yep. What's the social institution that unites people into cooperative groups to express connection and raise children? Family, yep. Tracing family by blood is called what? Well, yeah, but more specific than that. Kinship, yeah, yeah. What is it called if you marry people from the same social category? Endogamy. What if you marry one person? Monogamy. What if you marry multiple people? Polygamy. Yep. Okay. How about terms related to religion here? What's the difference according to Durkheim between the profane and the sacred?
Profane is like the normal, everyday things of life, and sacred's like
Inspires awe.
Inspires awe, it's tied to the sacred, yep. What's formal ceremonial behavior often tied to the sacred called?
Ritualism.
Ritual. So give me some example of some religious rituals then.
Being baptized.
Baptism, the prayer, like the community prayer in Islam where they all face the same direction, bend over at the same time, right? Mantras in Buddhism and Hinduism, the meditation. Traditional Hindu, I know in the West we do it as exercise, but like Hindu yoga, that's a religious ritual, right? Communion, okay. What's the term for religious belief based on conviction more than evidence?
faith.
Faith, yep. What's a religious organization that's well integrated into society? Church, yep. What is a religious organization that's outside of society's cultural traditions?
Cult.
A cult, yep. What's the process by which religious institutions become less important?
Secularization.
Secularization's correct. What is a religion or a person that is very traditional and strict in how they interpret their religion? They'd be a fundamentalist. They'd follow fundamentalism. Okay, let's go to chapter 4 on education, health and medicine. Or not chapter 4.
15.
It's at 15, yeah, chapter 4. Chapter 15, yes, chapter 15. Okay, what is the social institution that is in charge of imparting knowledge and preparing people for the workforce?
School.
Education. The formal instruction under the direction of trained teachers is what?
School.
Schooling, yep. So education is the social institution, schooling is the being trained under the formal direction of teachers. What is it when people lack reading and writing skills? Illiteracy or functional literacy, yep. What is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being?
Health.
What's the social institution in charge of making that better? Medicine. What is the social study of how diseases are spread? Social epidemiology, yep. Killing somebody because they don't want to live anymore because they're in a lot of pain. Euthanasia, yep. What is a medical care system that's run by the government? Socialized medicine, yep. What is the behavior expected of somebody that is dealing with health problems?
Sick role.
Sick role is correct, okay. Let's go to, the demographics chapter, chapter 16. What is the incidence of childbearing in a country?
Fertility.
Fertility. What about the incidence of death?
Mortality.
Mortality. What's the scientific study of human populations?
Demographics.
Demographics or demography, yep. What is the graphic representation of the age and the sex of a population?
Age, sex, pyramid.
Age, sex, pyramid, yep. What is the term that Tawnies use to represent where people are guided by kinship and tradition? Gemeinschaft, yep. What if they're guided by self-interest? Gesellschaft, okay. What were the comparable terms that Durkheim used? Organic and mechanical solidarity.
Which one's for which again?
Mechanical is like Gemeinschaft. The way I remember that is they both have M's in them, right? And the way I remember that is this is like my town. It's my community, right? And then organic solidarity is where it's based on specialization and interdependence. So the garbage guy, I rely on him to get my garbage and help me out with that, and he relies on me to teach his kids or whatever. I don't know if I have the garbage guy's kids in class. Okay. What is the study of how it's really hard to reword these things. What's the study of how human interaction affects like living organisms and then also the natural environment? What's the study of the link between physical and social dimensions of cities? Like, we build a building, how does it affect the animals or the species in that area? The air quality, whatever. It's urban ecology is what it's called. Okay, last one, last chapter, 17. What is an organized activity that encourages or discourages social change? Social movement, yeah. Remember, there's a couple different types of social movement. Basically, you have to determine how much change do they want and who do they want to affect. Remember types of social movement, there's 4 of them. There's a graphic for that also that's got the 4 boxes. I just want to show people so that they understand what it looks like as soon as I find it. What if you want to change just a small group of people? Again, it looks like this, kind of similar as before. What if you want to change a small group of people just a little bit? That's an alternative social movement, yep. What if you want to change a small group of people but drastically? Redemptive, so they don't still have the show on TV, but The Biggest Loser, you ever hear that show? Is it still on?
I think it is.
They take people that are like 450 pounds and then they go live somewhere for a while and they eat and train and all that and they do weigh-ins and they try to make them healthier, right? So raise your hand if you've seen that show, okay? That's a redemptive social movement. Okay, what if you want to change everybody but just a little bit? That's reformative. That'd be like no sort recycling in town. And then a social movement that wants to change everybody a lot. Revolutionary, and I just think of like the French Revolution or the Russian Revolution to remember that. Is it still recording?
Yeah.
Okay, good. What is the difference between modernity and post-modernity? Modernity looks like modern, ITY. Modernity and post-modernity.
It's more like industrial revolution things.
Yeah, so modernity is the social changes that emerged as the result of industrialization, the reliance on science and technology, the belief that things could constantly be improved. Post-modernity basically is kind of a backlash against modernity. And it basically seeks to criticize the developments of industry. So, you know, the United States is pretty materialistic, right? Look, we can build all this stuff, it's cool, look at all this stuff. But we have like really high depression rates, there's other problems. Postmodernists would criticize that kind of thing. They'd say, see, the Industrial Revolution really didn't fix things. What is Durkheim's term for a condition where society gives people very little guidance? Anomy means without norms, yep. And then what's the difference between mass society and class society theories of social change?
Class society is like in a capitalist society.
Class society is critical of capitalism, right? Yep. Fails to meet, capitalism doesn't meet all the needs of people, right? So we have to understand how social classes affect change, basically. And then what does mass society talk about? Mass society